the graph, the sharp spike you see in the graph, the implications and stuff like that, without quantifying it in Naira and Kobo, NPV, return on investment, how much, if I put into this, these are the people that are interested, the market people that need it, the volume, of turnover that I will get and things like that. So there is actually need, for someone that will stand in between, the academia and industry to be able to, look at what the academia are doing to be able to say, okay, academic person, yes, by the time you present this thing will be valued. The body of knowledge that you have will be valued in this way. And this is how much it will cost in Naira, Kobo, or in dollar, or in pounds. So that by the time, the person is presenting it to, the industry people, what they will be looking at is, what is the capex? The capital, expenditure that I need to put in this. What is my return on investment? How long is it going to take for me to recoup my money that I'm putting into this? So at the end of the day, you find out that if there is somebody that can get both parties and to be able to strike a balance in the languages that they are speaking, you understand, we'll move forward. I think that has
thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm seeing so what I got from that is that there needs to be like a middleman that would protect the both parties' interest, right, and communicate effectively. Thank you very much. You have
just to add to what Dr. Chika said, he said it all, but the University of Lagos friends have such an individual in place. Was it not 2 months ago, the University of Lagos, I think through the International Management Office, organized a workshop and picked who they term TTO, Technology Transfer Officers. So, and they are majorly students. These are students that have basic knowledge on what innovation is all about. The volunteers, some of them are volunteers from our Fab Lab. They are working closely with Dr. Shika. So they have the energy, and they are very, very good with all these. Justice is also a very good. Justice happens to be one of my students. Also very, very good with that. So students have the energy, and I think they are. We have business. The people that are business oriented also do that. But I would prefer to work with students when it comes to picking who to do this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Please let's give you one round of applause to Dr. Inisa and Dr. Shita. Thank you very much for your insight on this subject matter. So to round off this session, I would like to get questions from the audience. So I'll need like just 2 persons. If you have a question, please throw it out to our panelists. Everyone, questions. Nobody wants to build business or startup. Yeah. Are you guys not interested in building startup? I thought somebody. Oh yeah, Yan GPT. Are you not interested in? Oh. Okay. So anybody? Nobody.
Okay. If there is no question, I would like to ask Said question. I would like Said to tell me what is the total value of Yan GPT.
You were caught.
At present, I would like to know the total value.
You can come use the mic. Okay.
Okay, so I think this is a good platform for me to advertise Yan GPT. So YanGPT.ai is a platform that offers you text to speech in Nigerian languages, and the audio quality are actually very good. So just visit YanGPT.ai. So in terms of how I value YanGPT, right? If you ask me, I'll say $1 billion. So I actually don't have like a proper valuation. But if you want to discuss business with me, bring the money and we'll talk valuation. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So the reason why I asked this question so that the innovators that we have in this house will be able to know that the knowledge you have, could be valued. Mm-hmm. You understand? The knowledge that you have could be valued. And there is somebody that, is knowledgeable and can be able to assist you, to do that, so that whenever you're talking to anybody that is willing to invest or that is willing to put money into the knowledge that you have or startup that you have, you already know exactly where you're going to and what you're talking about and what you should expect. That is why I put up those questions. So those are the questions that we were expecting from you to ask, so that we'll be able to talk about it. But anyway, we'll have a whole lot of time. Anytime, feel
Somebody
free.
has a question.
Yeah.
But it's coming late. Can we take the question?
Okay.
Oh my,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry. So you can just meet on with Dr. Unisa or Dr. Shita later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists for providing a foundational roadmap for building sustainable research partnership. We're very thankful to you for attending this panel session. Thank you once again, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Let's clap for them. Thank you.
All right, let us give them a round of applause once again. So you guys, I'm going to teach you something new today. So everybody do like this. Wave your hands, say hallelujah, then do like this. Have you done it? Then carry it and chuck it to your pocket. That's the clap that you just gave me. So please give them a round of applause for the wonderful session that we just experienced. That is more like it. Thank you very much for that. This is a very interesting event. I am also here learning a lot of things, and I think my mind is being opened up to new possibilities. It is very funny that we see innovation and celebrate it, but somewhere behind that innovation is science. But we know that nerds, Scott was here earlier, I was talking about how, scientists are often seen as nerds and everything. We know that these nerds are the people that power the innovation that we use, the technology we celebrate today. So it is beautiful that we're having conversations as to how we can then translate all of the work they do, all of the knowledge they have into real products that solves real problems for people, but also makes money for them. So right about now, we're going into the second panel session. Again, to anybody that would like to ask a question, try to be very prompt so that we will be able to take your question. We started behind schedule. We really wouldn't want to keep everybody waiting beyond the normal time. So we're going to go straight into the second panel session. I know there are going to be a few minutes for you to ask questions as well after the session. So please do well to raise your questions if you do have them. But then you're going to sit and be moderating this session. No, I'm not the one. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, the moderator for the second panel session. First, the panel session is going to be on the role of AI agents for advancing science and research in Africa. So please welcome with me with a resounding round of applause that continues till she gets to the stage, Carol, who is going to be moderator for the second panel session. So let us keep the clap coming till she gets to the stage. Thank you very much. Also, if you have questions, pen them down so that you can quickly ask as soon as she's done.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. People are not going to say good afternoon to me. Hi, everybody. I'm Carol, and joining me for panel session 2 is Samuel. Samuel is going to be leading DeSci in health, and Sahid Ni, he's going to be tackling the linguistic barriers in LLMs, and we also have Kingsley, who is ensuring trust and security with blockchain in finance. Please help me welcome them to the stage. Yes, yes, you can. I have one more chair. One more chair. Good afternoon, my distinguished panelists.
Afternoon.
Please, can we get a mic for my
It's
panelists?
working.
Can we get another mic? So for panel session 2, we are going to be talking about the role of AI agents for advancing science and research in Africa. We are moving from the why of business development to how of technological transformation. So we are going to be starting with Samuel. Samuel, your early work on cerebrum DAO brain health agents is a perfect case study for DeSci. For our audience, can you break down the concept of an AI agent in this context? How does a decentralized AI agent differ from a regular centralized health app?
All right. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? All right. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity from Borderless Science and Scott. It's very much appreciated. Okay, so on to Cerebrum DAO, right? So basically, Cerebrum DAO, as introduced earlier, is one of DeSci platforms focused on brain health, basically. And my work there, I think last year, was within the AI, angle, and then using AI agents, infusing into the application to help users guide on their brain health journey. So basically, differentiating it between your normal centralized health application. So it's not just a recommendation engine, right? It's not just suggesting things for you. It's a goal-driven, personalized assistant, which takes in your input, every single day habits, and then guides you through the goal that you're looking to using AI agents, basically. And the a little thing to highlight on would be the difference and how it is better than, I won't say better, let me not put it in that because it means it takes context, basically. How the difference is with centralized agents. So for the first part of it, we're taking control, right? So we hear a lot of times about data control and how much you're not aware of what's going on with your data. So with this kind of system, right, and separating it from centralized, your data is in your hands, basically. You decide what goes into the system and what the system uses as a recommendation engine, part of its recommendation algorithm, right? You decide that. You're part of the deciding team, right? And another thing to also, as against a centralized system where, your data is living on private clouds, right? It belongs to a centralized body, as is the name, decentralized versus centralized. And that beautiful part of it will be the community-driven system, right? So every single thing developed on the brain health application is decided and handled, voted by the community. So the community takes the precedence on the decision, right? So you're putting in a single step. It goes to the community before it has to go out to the public, right? The community has to decide what goes into the application. And then just to summarize it basically, and then answer your question, in differentiating these two within the context of Cerebrum DAO's brain health application, is that the AI agent takes in your input with your permission, with your knowledge, takes in and then uses that recommendation engine to further improve your usage of this application, as against centralized applications where you take the application, you subscribe, they decide what they want to do with it, they decide what data goes into it, and you don't have any control over that. So thank you. I think that would answer that question.
Thank you very much, Samuel. So we know that in a regular centralized health app, we know that all user data is stored in a single company server, and in a decentralized health app, in cases like Cerebrum DAO, it leverages on blockchain and federated learning. So basically, the difference is just data ownership and control, and that's what we keep preaching, decentralization. So moving on to Sahid, YanGPT.
Yep.
YanGPT is a crucial step towards digitalizing indigenous African languages in scientific research. English dominance often marginalizes important local knowledge and makes global research inaccessible. how can a specialized indigenous language model like yours be directly leveraged by DeSci protocol to make research outputs instantly translatable, searchable, and even generated in local African languages?
Okay, so I think for an average person, let's assume I'm an average person, right? I don't know how to speak English. Now only Yoruba is savvy, or Igbo or Hausa. So what solutions like GPT can help you do is you, on your platform, for example, you create your content on your platform in English or whatever language. A platform like GPT can help you convert whatever you created to Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. So me, we are no savvy English, I can just come on your platform. I'm listening to whatever you are saying in Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, or I'm reading it in Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. That makes the person understand whatever you are doing. And even you as a content creator or as a DeSci platform, for example, you are reaching more audience that you naturally wouldn't have been able to reach if there were no platforms like that. So that's like the goal for GPT, helping people reach audiences that you wouldn't be able to reach normally. Because if, for example, now, there was a time I used to write, I only write in English. I really don't care about writing for people in Yoruba and Hausa because a lot of my audiences are people that speak English. But you never can tell. There might be one person down there who is trying to learn Python, who doesn't know how to speak English. But coming across your content in his own language would do a lot for him and would do a lot for him, even more than you can imagine. So models like GPT, they basically help you carry your content to people you naturally wouldn't be able to reach, right? And we currently focus on Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa, and that's because those are the common languages. So whatever language you speak, I'm still coming for that language later, but not, I'm still coming for that language, but not, I just the chill, sha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So basically, Yan GPT is acting as a specialized bridge, ensuring that the entire scientific chain value is multilingual. Thank you very much. So we're going to Kingsley. Your background is in securing decentralized financial systems in Roku. The biggest issue with with AI in science is trust in its outputs and training data. For people who know blockchain, how can the principles of immutability and verification you use in crypto trading be applied to an AI agent's data sets?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. I think that is a very good question. Prior to this event, I had not heard about the word science, honestly speaking. What I'm familiar with is open science. But then I came to realize that they are actually different. For open science, we're talking about projects that are accessible by everyone. That means the project is open source, the science is open source, anyone can contribute to it. The data is ubiquitous, everyone can see it and access it as well. But then what this science does differently is that it doesn't just allow this science, this data to be open, it also gives you the ownership of it. And I think when we understand that, then we can really understand how blockchain can be put in play when we talk about AI, for example, especially when you talk about data set, right? The question is directed toward data set particularly. So for you to understand how important data set is, you know that what makes a good AI model or what makes a good LLM is the quality of the data set. So if you want to get a good LLM, for example, you need to pay a lot of attention into the quality of the data you collect. And I believe this is a very big problem gap, and how philosophies from decentralized exchange or the blockchain can come to solve. Now, what I mean by this is we need to be able to establish immutability. So what I mean is when data has been collected, right, and it has been trained or fitted into a model, we need to make sure that the data or the record of that data is tangible and is accurate. So that at any point something was changed. At any point, some data that has been collected has changed. I think there is a need for it to reflect somewhere. We need to be able to see that. It needs to be obvious to everyone who is interested about that model. So that's the thing about immutability, and it's the only thing that blockchain can guarantee. So I really hope I'm making some sense. Am I making sense here?
Definitely.
Hello, are you with me? All right. So I'm talking about immutability. Another thing that I believe we can achieve with the blockchain is, let me see, give me time to think. Okay, so let's work with immutability for now. If there's any further question, I would like to expand on that.
No problem.
But if there's anything that's not clear, I would love to maybe put more input on that.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. So back to you, Samuel. Access to high internet speed is not a guaranteed factor. So for the sake of inclusivity, how should the AI agent, front end and back end logic be designed to function reliably and efficiently in low bandwidth, low power environments?
Okay, thank you for that question. So we're all aware that in fact internet is a very key problem here in this part of the world. In fact, if you're looking for an apartment in Lagos, I feel like your internet speed should be your first thing while you're searching for it. Yes, I mean, I was almost panicking in an apartment where I got to recently, and I was seeing 10 MB per second. I had to consult my friend. I was like, he said restart your router. But anyways, that's part of it. But moving on to designing applications for these users, and software developers are aware of these problems. And every single time applications are a good application is not designed, an application is not well designed if your end users cannot use it properly. If they don't benefit from your application because you're developing a system, you have access to it. When you push it out to the world, can the world access it properly? That's the first question. So in combating this problem, the two things, and on the front end side, right? I'm just going to do the basic breakdown of how software developers on front end do this part to make it. So first off, the kind of images you render to your users has to be so minute and clear. See, it's a fine balance. It has to be clear. It has to be minute to the point where when it comes to the users, it doesn't seem like there's a lag, even if the person is running on 5 MB speed or something. Then moving it on to other parts, the UI of the application, how much load. I mean, front developers use this thing we call skeleton loaders. How many of you have seen applications where you're loading it and there's a spinner, first of all, like it's loading. That's the first one. The second one, which I mentioned earlier, skeleton loaders, they're like, it mimics the content that is meant to show on the application. So it looks like, it makes you feel like something is actually happening in the background. It's feedback. So to the more detailed part, the more deeper part of it, where it has to benefit the users, would be, I'll mention first one would be edge computing, right? So this is, the concept of this is bringing things that will normally be on servers closer to the users. So instead of waiting for your user or waiting for a user to send data to your server for it to be processed for the first time, you keep a quantized version of the model, quantized meaning very minute, and to process things on the, like the work we did on the facial verification last time, right? So Kixer and I have worked on a project before we did facial verification, and we had to keep the model we did on the front end party bundled with the application and then pushed it over there. So basically, all this, right, was accounting for the user's point of view, right? Basically, it would have been better to just place it on the server, more comfortable, and then call the server every single time. But it wasn't going to benefit those in this part of the world running on tiny data bandwidth, right? So that's one part of it, edge computing, bringing it closer to the user, putting it on their devices. And then another thing which, I like to mention is making it offline first. So I think I was 13 years when I played my first online game, and it was very, very frustrating. When I mean online game, I think it was Asphalt 9, Asphalt 8 or 9, right? So I downloaded it, and then when I was about to play, I was seeing turn on your data. I was like, this is very strange. What's happening here? So I mean, and then plus at the point where there was no 5G, you can tell how crazy that was for me, right? Playing the game, you're playing, and other researchers around the world are getting past you because of your competitive network speed. Very competitive. So that exactly is something that you need to account for around the world. And trust me, right? The world has moved very far further than that situation we're back in the day. Right now we have better speeds, but still we're not there yet, right? So software developers have to account for these situations. The tiny thing out there where I made that example was previously these things were stored on your system, right? It was syncing it to your device offline first, and then when you come back on, they sync it to the server, and then they make it aligned, basically data consistency. And then finally, the last one would be making, and because we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about making calls to the blockchain very, very light. So rather than putting entire data on the blockchain to sync it, why not just put an identifier, a hash, a cryptographic hash, a tiny, small, minute data set that knows that is on the blockchain and still has a reference to your own device. That way, you're not sending entire data set to the blockchain. So in these entire solutions I just talked about, the examples I gave from my past and what we consider in this part of the world, the idea basically would be to give a better user experience and a better user, should I say a better user experience, basically a better user experience when using your application. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Samuel. So moving on to bridging the confidence gap, speaking to Kingsley now. So if African scientists must trust and adopt a tool, what non-technical community-led initiative are essential to bridge the confidence gap and ensure researchers are adequately trained and incentivized to integrate a novel, decentralized AI agent into their workflow?
Okay, that's a very good question. If you want researchers to jump on a tech, you have to focus on the community. You don't just build the tech and expect them to just come on board. You have to focus on the community. You have to pay attention to the people first, and then probably you want to work on how they feel about project built within that community. So if in my thinking, if I have a project that I'm pushing and I want more researchers to adopt it, I have to make sure they feel some sort of ownership. So part of the ways you can do that is to allow them contribute to that project, right? Part of what I was saying earlier in your first question, but I'm not sure my point went across very well. When I talked about using blockchain, because this is something blockchain can also help to do. When I talk about using blockchain to ensure immutability of data, the reason is because when you're working with AI projects like this, you require lots and lots of data, a lot of them, like an insane amount of data. And you need a good way to track how that data changes, for example. And now we're talking about bringing on board the community, let them be able to contribute that data. We need to be able to manage that and manage how that data change before it's being fitted into the model, for example. Recently, my work with open source Nest, big shout out to my team members over there who help push that movement. What we're doing, one of the things we did recently was to do a contributor-thon where we collect audio data from locals. People speak Igbo and collect that data. Now, the reason why we would do that is because we want more people to adopt this product coming from Mozilla, because the event or this movement is being sponsored by Mozilla. So that is what I'm talking about, being able to pay attention to the community. Do you understand? Now, if I may add to that, I would also say, when you consider handling big amount of data like that and managing it over the blockchain, there will also be a need to verify that data. You don't just accept any data, right? Lately, I ran into a paper. The title of the paper is, "Can LLM be brain rot?" I don't know if you're familiar with that term, brain rot. It's kind of very popular now on the internet. So it's basically all these viral content that doesn't have any real real foundation or real backing, right? Like 6-7. I mean, see today I don't know what 6-7 means. If anybody knows what 6-7 is, please educate me after this after this conversation. So now this research explored, training a model with brain rot content that did very well online, but doesn't really communicate a serious value. And they did train a model using all of those kinds of data. Now, the result of that research is that after you've done that, this model is going to underperform by a landslide against every other model in the space. And that's not even the only problem. Adding to that is that there's no way to remedy that. You just have to take this brain rot LLM and trade away and maybe perhaps start afresh. Do you understand? And so this now, having known that there is this challenge, this chance of collecting bad data. Now, when you want to involve community, you want to make sure that there's a way to validate, right? And we can borrow some philosophies from Web3. Talk about the consensus, right? I know right now how it's done. Before your research goes out there, you need to go through some peer review, right, in venues. But we can take it a step further, where not just for the research, but also for the data that will be involved. So if a lab here, for example, in Unilag, gather some data, we need other venues to validate. Now, if we have this kind of system, it will be a lot more easier for these projects to involve community at that level of gathering data. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you very much, Kingsley.
Thank
So
you
as
very
we round
much.
up this panel session, we will be talking about addressing bias and local context. And my question will be directed at Said. So given the need for localized impact, if the AI agent's primary purpose is to synthesize or generate research, how must the development team proactively audit the agent to ensure it does not perpetuate biases inherent in dominant Western languages and data sets, thereby marginalizing research written in or relevant to indigenous African languages?
Okay, so I think that just go back to a lot of what he has said. Data. Anything you are training would always perform based on the data it's trained on. So if it's trained on a biased kind of data, it's going to perform like that. And that's why AI companies are always so careful before they roll out a model. There's something that they do there's a kind of fine tuning they do on a model to prevent it from saying some things. Because this model, we are trained from data that you find online. And there are people who put out content online, good content. There are people who put out bad content online. So when you put those content and train the model on it, the model doesn't have something that I can use to identify that, oh, this is good content or bad content. So if it was trained on the kind of data that says black people are something, the model is going to tell you that because that's what it was trained on. So I think the way that can be prevented is taking a look at the data. Like you actually have to sit down and look at the data you have. Is this data biased? Try to remove some sort of bias from the data. I've actually worked in instances whereby you are cleaning data sets and they try to use some sort of filter to filter the data set you have. There are some models that will be able to predict, is this text biased? Is this image biased or not? There are models that do that. And most companies try to incorporate that in what they are doing. But those models are still not perfect because, like, for you to train a model that detects bias, you have to gather a lot of biased data and unbiased data. And to gather that data, somebody has to sit down and label that data. And if, let me say I give you a task to sit down and be labeling data, be reading text and labeling it, how long will it take for you as a person to be doing that? And to prepare that kind of data, you need a lot of people. That is very expensive. So in conclusion, the answer is data. You have to work on your data, take a look at your data, try to ensure that this data you are using to train this model, there's no bias out there. You can forcefully instruct the model not to return some type of content, but eventually to still crack. There are ways people can prompt the model to say some things. You can try to put it in your form that, oh, don't say black people, don't say, but there are some people whose work is to force your model to say that so they can take a screenshot and put it out there. Like that's life for you. So you have to take a look at your data, try to ensure, and that's very expensive. It's very expensive. In the models I'm building, I have to work on a lot of data. And I'm the only one on my team currently. I'm working with a lot of data. I'm preparing the data. But to be sure that this data is quality, I have to listen to all the audios I have. And that, which is not realistic, because I have to have a lot of audios. And if you calculate how many hours do we have in a day? 24 hours. If I divide it by the amount of hours of audio that I have to listen to, like, the math is not possible, right? But that's still the best way. Take a look at your data, analyze it very well, try to ensure there's no bias in the data. That's the best thing. But it's very difficult to do, but that's still the best thing to do.
Thank you very much, Said. This is you want to make a contribution. All right. 1 minute, please.
Yeah, just let me just make it really quick. And yes, so the part you talked about bias data, I would make a reference to the project I talked about earlier in facial verification. So I think when I came into that project, one thing to also know is that I was very, very tempted to make the model work, right? And in as much as you're also looking at your data, you as a person have to understand that you have to be neutral in looking at data, on looking at what you're working on at the end of the day. Because there's one thing that is called burnout. You want to just get to the end, and you're tempted to cut corners at the end of the day. Filter, okay, this is not making it work, filter out. But you need that as a label. So just like he said, the expenses of handling data and everything, you have to have I think I would say peer reviews, multiple people on a team, especially with AI. I don't recommend having one person on a team working with just AI models. It has to be multiple people so that everybody looks at it from different lens. The project I talked about, we were 2 on the project, right? I was tempted to make it work. He wasn't tempted to make it work, you understand? So there was a bit of, this is not the structure and this will not work. So all that would combat this problem. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We've all made critical 30 seconds.
Okay, I know you're racing time. When having conversations like this, I like to feel more relaxed, so I can actually express myself fully. So about what he mentioned the problem and he has given a solution. And then if we are bringing this into open science, we're talking about, a big number of people contributing to making sure this model work, then that consensus must happen. And this circles back to that first question as to how can blockchain come into making sure that data sets are good, are true, and unbiased. So I just wanted to circle that back. All right, that's it.
Thank you very much. So if we have any questions, does anybody have any question? I'll take just one question. Okay. No.
Thank you. My name is Kingsley, a pharmacist and a Web3 BD. So I kind of have a unique understanding of everything going on. For Cerebrum DAO, I don't know if you're the best person to answer this, but can you give the step-by-step use of your bio agent? 1, for Yan GPT, can you explain the data you went through that led you to decide to building your LLM? Thank you.
Okay. All right. So hold on. Can you just repeat the question that you asked me again? Sorry, I want to.
What are the steps that people have to do when using the bio agent? Something involving
Yes. Okay. All right, great. Okay, I understand your question now. So basically, the way we're talking about the bioagent relating with normal people right now, right? So to use it and make use of its full functionalities, the Cerebrum diode made it into an application to make it very, very straightforward for a user, right? So they don't have to deal with the entire JSON or imputing things into APIs to be able to get results from it. You just go into the application, you set your goals, the application is running you through every single day. And to make the application really, really interactive and intuitive, every single thing you do, you know, the application, it runs on data. Every single thing you do, you have to clock in your habits into the application. Now, all of this will compile into suggesting and recommending things for you. So to answer your question in one single term, for a normal day person to use it, they just have to get the app and impute their goal, and the bioagent is running in the background, picking up the. All right. Okay. Oh. Okay, I get your question. So, per my knowledge, right, and I'm not exactly sure, but the last time we discussed that on the team, the applications being developed, I'm understand you're looking at it from the angle of what ChatGPT does, you know, prompting directly, right? Exactly. So the application right now that is out there works with one single function, right, to help your daily habits. The one you're talking about, where the steps you use to solve PTSD and then gives you a wide range of recommendations for, I think that is still in development and is not out there yet. So right now, it's not part of the. Exactly. The application tracks your habits. The one I'm talking about is how they tracks your habits and recommend based on your goals. Yeah. Oh no, not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
Okay, so if I got your question correctly, you asked me what type of data that is to build the LLM. Okay, actually, I didn't start Yan GPT out of a market data. I was just a guy having fun. I think it was first semester 500 level. We were moving from holidays to the semester, and Unilag didn't resume physically. So I was just at home. I was building fun projects. I was searching for a job basically. So I want to build a project out there, add it on my CV. They employ me, I collect money. That was the idea. So I didn't really start from market planning, market research. I didn't do that. I just wanted to build something and I wanted to have fun while building it, right? But like since releasing the first version out, and now I'm no longer building for fun. I'm now building for a market. I'm building for people to pay for it. So I'm currently trying to like find markets that need it. I've been able to identify one or two that could be like my biggest, the biggest use case. I'm still working on that. I have a lot of information around that, but I'm still searching for who needs, like industries that need Yan GPT. And if you are someone here that needs text to speech and other stuff related to it, you can just reach out to me and we'll cook something. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We money come too.
Thank you very much for this wonderful panel session. You can ask your questions after the panel session. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for this panel session. Thank you for my wonderful panelists, Zahid, Samuel, and Kingsley. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, let us give them a round of applause for that wonderful session. All right, I've seen another victim. So I feel by now you guys should know me that I like to look for post trouble. So there is this very handsome man. I think that session really touched him. the point that his posture is such that he's thinking about everything he has heard. And it is the man in the checkered shirt. Yes, you very handsome, fair man. Let us give him a round of applause as he stands up to introduce himself. So tell us your name, what you do, and what you've learned so far.
My name is James. My name is James, and I'm a
So say hi to him. I'll pass it back to you. So say hi, James. Say hi to him.
Hi, James.
All right, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Yeah, he's excited that he's back with us today. So the reason why, James, I'm still coming to you. The reason why I wanted us to do that is so that everybody's switched on. We're here to learn. And if you have listened to the conversations we've had up till now, you know that it's been real value that has been dished out. So if you're a person like me that you have not started coding or developing an AI agent, maybe you want to start thinking. There's that meme I saw recently where there was a video where the lady was saying that I think she was trying to sing that she check whether she get talent, right? Make she know whether she go quit her POS business. So if you're looking to quit your POS business, please pay attention. So let's meet you, James.
Oh, I learned from the
Are you raising your hand? I saw your hand first. You know when you want the moderator. Are you guys classmates? Are you guys friends? Your girlfriend. So let us tell your name and tell us that name. Everybody, my name is Abiola. You want the first moderator. So, Eniola, yeah. Is it correct?
Yeah.
Yes. No. We need to do my needs. So we're going to back your opinion. So now we're going to confirm that you're correct. I think it's correct. So let us give it a round of applause. You can have your seat. So I'm having one question after which I'm going to be quiet. So the last question is, and this is a very simple one, so you can have your hands ready. What is the name? What is the name of the coming of today's event? Yes, come on. You don't know with your friend. I'm not going to ask you, that was just a joke. And I'm going to try for you to answer it out of curiosity. But the last question is, again, a very simple one. What is the name of the organization that has put this together? Let's do it. I don't have it, so I'm going to you. So tell us your name and ask your question. Hi everyone, my name is DK. Read again. Hi everyone, my name is DK. Alright, so the answer to your question is what is science? That's correct. You are free to answer again. Alright, please let us move around and help speak you can have your seat. So I think we're from here, and we're going to go, I think you drove from 4. So 1, 2 ladies here, from here, 2 ladies from here, 2 guys from here, 2 guys from here. Was that they are just a handful of ladies there. I'm not going to, but I already answered questions earlier. So ladies are here tonight. Very beautiful. She's meeting at a very beautiful village, and she's looking like a very young I cannot believe this. Please give her those very wonderful lady that is smiling. She comes forward to come to be the person where I invented into the DeSci Lagos 2025. Please come forward. Thank you very much. So I don't think that we can time around. This can't be idea. For the institution, we are very school. So we're going to school. Thank you very much. So this platform is going to be what I promise you. I think I'm going to have a seat. You will be around for it. If you want to be they're actually something interesting. I mean, I'm wanting them to sing the national anthem, but they're not going to sing the national anthem. They're going to do something else, but we're coming to sing in the national anthem very soon. Just come forward. So if you're going to be on microphone. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be handing the mic to each of you. Please come close. First, you're going to be introducing yourself. Tell us your name, tell us what you do this time around so that in case there's somebody that wants to give you money again, they can give you money. And then we're going to give you it's an alphabet game. Some of you might have seen it, but in case you've not seen it, you're about to be entertained. So what you are going to a world where none of these people in 5 places don't exist. So just for you, you become one now, just fresh, don't play with your inside. And then you see the person making what time you wear and like, oh, wow, we can stuff, that kind of stuff. So you have a conversation with each other. Using the alphabet. So whenever you have to read, you have to follow the sequence of the alphabet. So for example, you start with A, and then you respond with B, and then you do C, and then you respond with D. And then you have to so sing national anthem. So first and second, over to you, Ma. And then over to you. So let's so you do the same, and then you start with the man. Let's go. Let us give them a round of applause.
Hi everyone, my name is Gonzalo. I'm a cybersecurity analyst by day and an engineer by night. I'm an engineer by night. Yeah, so that's right.
Let me choose.
Hi everyone, my name is Annabelle and I'm a content creator and a content
Right? Come to the middle for that phone online. We see you. We're going to each other. Yes, very good. My man, I need to see you, man. Let's go. Stay.
Hello, how are you? See, I should buy.
Don't worry.
You want the record?
Thank you.
You get this event, you have to see how. Good to know you should have it.
Yeah. I don't know.
How now?
Confused.
Join now.
You don't see me now.
So I count down. Whenever Annabelle or anybody is silent, I'll raise my hand and do 5, 4. Then I don't know what the response. That's it. Yeah, great. Yeah. Very good. So I don't know. What the response 10.
No, no.
Okay.
Oh God.
Please now.
Guys, bye.
You think you should say enough?
Let me connect.
Because I don't know what we need here.
All right.
Right, please.
Sing to us.
Today,
You rather have it some other time.
you can have it.
Yeah, come on. You know, second chance.
And that one is full.
You will like chop.
Very sure.
Waiting. But do you have to down to replace another? I'm going to give this one. I'm coming to you. What are you doing? The head is I can count down 5.
See what to do.
Guys, let's count down 5. Thank you very much. You still contribute. So I'm picking another meeting. Oh, give us another one. So you have to follow the check. As far as you want to point, and it's the lady that is putting on white. So look at yourself. You're putting on white. I'm just looking on. If you are not standing up, give her a round of applause as she stands up. The lady on white. The lady anymore. All right, she knows herself. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes forward. She's very handsome man. That's right. So we should pick another man. We have to let us do our escape. We need a guy. Is that volunteer? Oh, there's no man coming up already. Man of the land. That was going to be. So I'm looking for a man. I'm trying to look at it. And you don't look at me, I will look at you. So that's why I don't give me eyes. So when did I go over there? I'm looking for a person that has the most suspicious behavior. You know, and I've seen it. She's very white, the man is very white. Very fiscal. It transforms her not to look at me. You know what I mean? Social machismo. It's not Thank you very much. Quality actually looks very good. You know, the guy that goes to your stuff because they're just shifting God's oil because you know what you don't do right when you know very interesting that you don't show cast houses. So if you look like you don't see so let us give them around because I'm pretty sure I'm never really nice to you. If you give yourself, then let's start. You're having a conversation, all the generations, you leave them from your side. Look at her, look into her heart. And have a conversation with her. You're using the alphabet, so you're starting with A, she responds to the B, and like that. She's looking at it around. I think she's starting this around. She's starting with A, you're speaking this fine the world, and then you have a conversation. Please come close so that you feature our future.
Hi everyone, my name is Nafisat. I am a structural. My name is Nafisat. I am a structural and computational alchemist, and I'm also a blockchain data analyst.
Hi everyone, my name is Chiezi. I'm Champion DevOps Analyst Engineer.
Are you having fun today?
First and foremost, I would like to say that it's actually a very bright activity.
Get me some water. Indeed, just take a look at you are not gentle. Whatever you are saying. Look into my eyes and tell me what you want. Could you ask me to ask you? So, what are we now? Very nice opportunity. Welcome to DeSci Lagos. Showing the fact that you actually what? You know, you're right. See, speaking of this conversation. National anthem. I'm going to hand it over the mics to pure respect to give up the mic bar. Needed, indulgent, if not be the which is the way to go something. Because the woman, you have to gender equal. So then come and stand here. Thank you very much. So over to you, please. Not very. Nigeria national anthem. Yeah. in a meeting, so we're going to move on to the presentation that we have for now. We're going to be hearing from the horse's mouth, like I said. So I'd like to hear with the protocol to please bring back the leads so that we can get ready for the second presentation. So the second presentation is going to be on parallel science agents. And who is the person in a better position to talk about this than the man that has been building this team himself. So we will now begin the round of applause. What's the name of the audience in a while? The convener of DeSci.
In about 5 days. And then I questioned myself. I said, what if it could have been faster? So when I have it could have been faster, then from my commercial science background, I knew that there were things that might have limited, the level of effectiveness of that particular plant that was used. We used to block it and stone at a certain way, younger. So, okay, all right. So we need to do that, and then we start drawing up the documentation, because when it comes to product development, you have to obviously go through some level of research, but I was live research. So I just had to do what we call product/user validation to if that particular product that we're trying to build, if it really makes any sense. Okay, so that was what I did in that case. So we looked at the model and asked ourselves what are the key things that we would do. And because of the craze for blockchain and technology, we have to integrate that as well. Okay, it's okay. So I just look. I pray it gives us a few minutes. I'll be very quick so that we can be fast. It's not supposed to take too long. So we decided to ask ourselves very interesting questions. Okay, fine, something is working. What are the other things that we need to do to make it make sense? Because when it comes to science products, it's not just, you don't just have to solve the problem and if a problem I don't think you want to. There must also be the aspect of user experience. Yeah, so user experience for non-product people, your daily interaction with that particular entity. So for example, the general popular Samsung and iPhone war. Suppose they love iPhone, suppose they love Samsung. And the reasons why they love these two different gadgets or brands are best known to them, but I've been on both sides. and I know the one that is good, but I will not divide this. So, user experience is your daily level of interaction with the platform. You wake up in the morning, for example, if your phone goes off, you plug your Samsung phone, your Samsung phone will just charge. But if you plug your iPhone will what? Come on. So it's easier to load an iPhone than it is for a Samsung. So if you are in a period of emergency, maybe you are close to washing plate at a restaurant because your phone went up and tried to make a transaction. Samsung will put you in trouble because you have to still load it. See, right, Samsung, you'll be loading, we do all those Samsung, those things, Google one before it loads. But the iPhone will just load, just need to unlock. So there are other things that we now needed to what? Start integrating normal social ideologies into this product. So it doesn't seem like it's a daily kind of economy. It just shows. So maybe you will do your life command. It was just showing us now. So there's always the need in building, when you're building product, there's the need to what? Integrate simple and general social practices. Why? Because there's a rule in product development that people tend to what? Interact with a new platform the way they've interacted with similar platforms. You get. So if you're using OP and you're using CUDA, if you use OP for the very first time, you sometimes you say, why is it not like something like this? Or go to the traditional bank, I don't mention any of their names, the ones that put us in so many downtimes in this country. You say, why is this bank operating like this? So there are core needs for us to what? Integrate some of these things in our product. So the product is not just solely science. And again, secondly, there's a need for business development. So business development is, as is mentioned, the business and profit part of your science product. Okay, so that is that. To give an overview before if it comes up to present, is that this AI agent does what? It does drug discovery for herbal and traditional medicine sources. And how does it work? And how did we come about that? Okay, it's up again. Thank you. So how do we come about that? I looked at the series and say, we're making this for researchers only. Okay, we're making this for just researchers. Okay, so I'm making this for researchers only because in the agents world, there was someone who asked a question in the panel, was asking somewhere if you want to ask PTSD. We train the agents to tell you that this is not a medical advice. Agents are you are supposed to go and take a proper consultation and prescriptions from your doctor. So now you can follow my instructions. Okay. So we built this couple of amazing group of people. Then we came together to actually do this. This is the first time GDA agents. The other experience about GDA agents, we built 1, 2, 3, but we're with like other companies. So this is bringing traditional science with modern intelligence. How do we begin to value and accept our local practice to make them no longer local? So we are turning local animal knowledge into data bank farmer compatible insights powered by AI and secured on I don't mention that line because we're not securing it again. All right, so let's click launch. Okay, so for now, this is a minimum viable product, which is like the smallest or easiest functional interactive product a company can build or can serve the need of the user. So this currently we're only focusing on the large language models. How we came about it, we got a lot of manuscripts from African sources. We had a lot of issues because of data issues. And then we also got other traditional practices from other countries or regions of the world that share similar characteristics with Africa, for example, Asia. Okay, so for let's click on the ask other agent anything. And for now, what we're going to do is to critique and ask like simple questions. So for now, we don't actually compound. So the app tells you, or the agent tells you info about this particular part. So maybe for that, let's type, let's say Italy. I don't know space. I don't know. Okay, enter. Let's generate. Just click on the arrow. Okay. So now, at the moment we're doing all of the necessary search and then insights generation. Okay. So now, in this case, we're currently just only computing the what's it called? The compounds, because when we drug discovery, we don't want the scientists to be asking plenty unnecessary questions. You can retry it again. To ask plenty unnecessary questions, that you're going to derail the person from what's it called? From what they actually intended to search. So if you have a network issue, that might be the problem. But just the other one is upright. So if you want to see the result, it's live on YouTube. But the one that's live here is not alive. It's not alive. So it's searching the web. That only just want to show. The other one is included. All right, I don't take much of our time. So we want to just see the final this thing that I think. Maybe you want to reload and maybe do not put space. Maybe that's an issue. I don't know. Upgrade another tab. Okay, fine, thank you. Let me go up. No, come down a bit. No, go up a bit. That's all, thank you. So now you can see the agent tells you the specified description, it tells you the botanical name, gives you like inside, it tells you like general information. It tells you about it, the morphology, because now when you talk to the shrub or small tree, it actually informs how you are supposed to the final production. Final production. So okay, the shrub. So you can know to explain the texture of the plant and all of that. So that's why it tells you the parts that are being used that you can actually use. So you don't use things that might people have tried before that is detrimental. So it tells you that, and it even gives you the common name. So in LGBT, we are trying to we are translating it already. All right. So let's go to the key compounds. So remember that I mentioned that the issue of inhibition in the particular plant might be an issue, for us to the level of effectiveness. So it tells you that these are the current compounds that are present. And the most active compound is the one that is what? So venodine. Because in fact, the botanical name of bitter leaf is Venonia amygdalina. So it tells you, so these are all of the problems and the useful components are present here. So let's go next. And then the agent also tells you the toxicities and deficiencies. So it tells you that excessive intake may lead to gastrointestinal upset. And then no specific deficiencies have actually been associated with vitality. So it tells you the primary things that if you overuse, you may have issues. So let's go to the complementary botanicals. Okay, I don't know, maybe you're supposed to scroll, I don't know, but it's supposed to suggest, but maybe not in this case. There are some other plants that in this case, what it tells you that it tells you, or for this other plant, for example, you can say lemongrass. So if you have lemongrass to this, you should be able to treat something, an additional ailment. So that's actually what this place tells you. So let's go to treatable ailments. So it also tells you the possible things that you can treat. So I don't know the level of question for each candidates. Maybe you may want to do a research on how, because it's a drug discovery agent. So you may want to now begin to ask yourself, what are the association of the compounds that were listed in relation to combating any of these problems? But as usual, it gives you the top common use cases, maybe in the first 2 or 3. Because for example, diabetes, even the anemia. So I know between science class, anemia is low blood or lack of blood. So generally, vegetables actually do that. And then let's go to the last one, which is the pharmaceutical comparisons. So for this case, there are no comparisons. There are plans that we have tried that suggested the comparisons. What we do here is I compare it with the general pharmaceutical database to see if the current treatments used to solve the main ailments that this is supposed to solve. Yeah, and it sees that okay, if there are any adverse effects, from, let's say for example, using chloroquine, chloroquine makes your body itch. Okay, but using, let's say, bitter leaf, if you can cure malaria, using bitter leaf will not make you itch, but maybe make you have flat stomach problem because magic they must be impressed with. Possibly in the case of this. But if you go through the normal laboratory processing, where you now isolate the components, I don't think we should be having the gastrointestinal issues and all of that. So lastly, you can generate the results and stores it on chain. So currently, that's what we've been. No, just generate top right. So you can generate and then it stores it. This generation allows you to own for ownership of your work. So you know that okay, you've done this and it saves it so that you can come back to your decision. If you want to click it, you can click it. If you don't want to click it, I think I'm done. So thank you very much for listening. The questions that were instrumental to this, some of them are not here, but we've got some here. There's Precious and a whole lot of other amazing people that were doing all of this. So thank you so much, and we believe to continually improve what we have done. All right, thank you.
All right, let me give you a round of applause once again. If you're a person that is curious about innovation, about technology, or if you're a person that has dabbled into learning how businesses are built, I'm of course, we have heard MVPs a lot, and you mentioned that what you have just shown us is a minimum viable product. So what are you here that knows what an MVP is? MVP. If you play basketball, you know what an MVP is. We're not talking about an MVP for basketball now. Is there anyone else to tell us what it is? I thought already goes around the hand was raised. One of our speakers, yes,
so minimum viable product MVP speaks to developing a use case as small or tiny as it could be, so that you don't probably expend so much money expending so much money, probably mass producing, and then eventually doesn't work. Probably the product is not good, it's not acceptable, or it's working based on some partners. So you spend so little to develop products or a sample, a test case, use case, so that eventually the works can now mass produce or scale the operation.
Let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much for that. For example, when you watch Lines 10, right, you probably would have heard them talk about it a lot. And everyone waste a lot of time to know exactly when they have to be, digital product as well. It can usually be a physical product. And probably the purpose of having an MVP so that for your team developing that product, you're able to test and you put it in the market, see how people interact with it, figure out whatever loophole there is to it, and just generally improve it. So right now we're going to be going into the next panel session. In a couple of minutes, we're going to have Chelsea again
And this time around, we're going to be having a conversation on something very, very important. The DeSci Lagos, integrating decentralized science operational models for sustainable research ecosystems in Africa. It sounds very fancy, but I can guarantee you when you listen to the conversations that are going to be had, you're going to learn a lot. This conversation is going to be moderated by a very handsome man in green, whose name is Justice. So in a couple of minutes, Justice is going to come out for him to handle this panel session. So I'm going to Justice to come up. I believe it's trying to solve some things before we come to what I'm tempted to call somebody who did not know the national anthem. I feel like the person should know herself because I was thinking that there was a cut, my eyes caught her, and she's smiling. She's smiling and she's playing with popcorn. She wanted to cut her popcorn to cut her. So ladies and gentlemen, do you yourself, stand up, you yourself. I'm going to point at you. Let us go around about this. This is what you say when we talk about taking accountability. Let us go around about those lives. Thank you very much. You can have your seats. Justice is ready, but I'm coming back to you. All right, so let us give Justice a round of applause as he moderates this panel session. Hello, everyone. So I think I should know my card now. So I'm in a very enclosed space. I hope you're all having fun. I'm having a lot of fun backstage here. So without wasting much time, I'll just be introducing our panelists for this session. As we all know, integrating centralized science operational models for sustainable research ecosystems in Africa is a very interesting topic. So I'm introducing our first panelist, Precious Alon. It's coming majestically. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. Also, joining us, as you all know, DeSci is all about like inclusivity and embracing the concept of it. So I'll be introducing our second panelist and also one of the core team members of DeSci Lagos, Rebecca Agon. Rebecca, and our third panelists are no other person but Daniel Coco Bassi. Oh, I'm fond of me. Interesting here. So, okay, let me just take this stage here. All right. Can we get a second mic, please? So, the section is really simple. You want to research really, sorry, please. Yeah, just 1 second. Okay, so I'll start with Precious Alon. Sorry. So Precious, we understand now like you are very conversant with design and you work with a number of DAOs and have like a good experience in the design system. So at Oral Science, if you don't know, like Precious is one of the contributors to Oral Science and will be telling us exactly like what you do. But at Oral Science, we understand that you manage operations for open research. Because we're in the era of open research, this time as it applies to the everyday life. So for our academia audience that are a bit familiar with the blockchain, and from your past experiences across all the DeSci ecosystem, can you walk us through the technical flow of a funding transaction? Because this question is quite good because we are not just asking about the technical flow of funding, but asking how it contributes to sustainable research ecosystems in Africa.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Precious Allo comment RSI. RSI is a grant-based community that helps fund researchers, research projects, and communities. Like an incubator, basically, and put them to how they achieve their milestones and all of that. Now, the question is the technical flow of a typical funding transaction in DeSci, right? So basically, a typical funding flow or transaction in DeSci goes through about 5 stages. And while I explain these stages, I'll be contrasting it with what they are typically used to. So first off, when something is about to be funded, there is a proposal. Let's say there is that group as an example, right? The research group comes, they drop a proposal which shows us what they want to research on, how much they need to carry out that research, the time duration to achieve certain milestones, and how much they would need per milestone. So for instance, a research group can come say they want to research on fertility, basically. They're going to do the research for 6 months. They will need funding at every 2 months and give us milestones they want to achieve at these 2 months and the amount they need to carry out these things. After proposal, the community gets to vote. It could be on snapshots, it could be on the community itself. So that one person doesn't get to decide what gets funded or not. So there's going to be a proposal where it is shown back at the community to go through the proposal and vote on whether or not the proposal will be granted. Then the fund is now taken to a multi-seed. Now I'm trying to explain these terms because in this there comes a lot of technical jargon. It's the thing is taken to a multi-seed, that's a multi-seed nature. So that there is not just one person who gets to carry out the transaction. So for context, the multi-seed can contain 5 signers. It means there are 5 people who have the ability to sign the transaction. And it could be a quorum where for the money to be disbursed, 3 out of 5 people must sign. So that there is a level of shared responsibility too. One person cannot decide to pay the money out. One person cannot decide to stop the money from being paid out. So there are 5 signers, and for instance, let's say there are 3 people that must sign for the transaction is carried out. Then at each milestone that have been promised that, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, I'm going to need a certain amount of money for it. The transaction is initiated by one of the signers, and the rest of the signers are not notified. So if I'm going to it, check out how legit it is, then the 2 other people get to sign. If you don't be anybody, then the money is being disbursed out, and the proof is uploaded that the total amount was disbursed from the DAO treasury to so person, and the 3 signers are this person, and this person. So it's just a transparent flow, then the researchers get the fund, and that's the final process. As opposed to the normal way that is funding, when you carry your research project to a centralized body, and one person can decide if they're going to fund you or not. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that clear answer, Precious. So if you are not curious about how the funding model works on this side, I believe Precious has given the deep dive of essentially what it entails. So moving on, there's a part of our session where you spoke about fertility as a case study for the funding research. And that is quite interesting because it introduces our next panelist who is working in DeSci, one of the DAOs, DeSci DAOs that deals with woman health and essentially all that pertains to woman health. And if you represent at yesterday's session, one of their core members actually came and took us through the entire funnel of DeSci. So John, continue from that launchpad. Rebecca, we know that DeSci focus is extremely important because it involves the female fertility and essentially all that involves the woman health. Yet, historically, because this is something that the study can back up the claim, the funding in woman health is actually very limited as opposed to other
metastases. Like when I say metastases, I involve like the brain health and essentially like other part of the body, like the cerebrum and the spine. But woman health is underfunded. Still, Rebecca, how does antenatal voting mechanisms and funding structures specifically leverage centralization to attract capital and direct resources to valid areas of research that traditional venture like the capital or government grants often ignore? So what exactly does antenatal contribute differently to ensure that this pipeline is streamlined?
All right, thank you very much for that question. Okay, so like you said the women health is underfunded. Currently, I think the women population is about 49.7%, that's globally. And right now, we just have 5% of funds going to women's health. And I'm speaking from the Global Healthcare Research and Development. They only delegate 5% of this fund to the women health. So if we're looking at traditional mechanism, right, the government, they have to go to the central lab or maybe a central body whereby they decide who gets funded, you get, and then sometimes it comes with biases, right? They decide, oh, this project is valuable, this one is not valuable, and that's just it. But what we do at Antenna currently, we are one of the leading women community. We help educate and also fund projects. I'm sure now in Nigeria, we're very familiar with many health issues women currently face. We have PCOS, we have endometriosis, we have ovarian aging, we also have menopause that is rapidly growing. It's meant to start at the age of 40 to 45, but if you check recently, some women are not even up to 40 and they're already experiencing menopause, which means they can't even give birth again, right? So I think that what we do there, we try to get capital from a global pool. So we don't just decide who funds us. Anyone is open to funding us. We reach out to investors, we reach out to individuals. We also have donation campaigns. Then we have token sales. Not like everyone and anyone can fund a particular project, which takes us to the second step. How do we decide which project gets funded? Okay, so I work with the Science and Deal Flow team in Athena DAO, and our work basically is to review projects. Currently, we've reviewed about 400 projects, and we've also funded 6 labs, which we have our first spin out live ahead. They are in charge of ovarian aging, which helps limit menopause a bit and then increase fertility rates. So when we get projects, when you go to Athena DAO website, you see where you can submit your project, you submit your proposal, we review it, we gather the projects that have been submitted, and then we take a look at everything. But there are key criteria that we look at. First off, we need to look at the one that has translational potentials. Then we look at the one that has the best market exit strategy before we fund. And then it is a decentralized community. Everyone gets to vote, not just one person. We look at this project, we review, we give our percentages. Oh, this project seems like it, this one seems like it. Then we have a meeting again. Then we decide which one we are moving to the next step. So the next step is we have senior reviewers in Athena DAO. So these senior reviewers look at the project we've decided to scale to the next level, and then they decide, oh, okay, I think this one has the best translational potential, which is why with Live Ahead, they started with Athena DAO, and now they are a full independent company.
All right, thank you so much for that. And I can attest to that wholeheartedly. Like the projects that are actually forming in Athena DAO are nothing but the best. Because I happened to review their projects like yesterday, and I saw like quite a lot of interesting things. If you are curious about our women generally, I think you can have a look at Athena DAO, or you want to contribute to that. So Daniel, I understand that like you've been warming up here, and we know like you are deep in like marketing and strategy at Spectris DAO, if I'm correct. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So as a DAO, as Spectris DAO, you need community to drive. The community is essentially like a major asset. And from the marketing angle, what are the top 3 strategic considerations of a DeSci that should be addressed to successfully market itself to its different audiences? Because I understand that like this entails the traditional scientists who need results, and as well as the crypto entities, investors, community members who need the token and utility. So what's that funnel from a community perspective? Like how do you market a DAO in such a way that is attractive to all, including the people that are non-DeSci enthusiasts?
Good day, everyone. My name is Daniel Bassi. I'm the operational lead and growth strategy of Spectro DAO. So at Spectro DAO, we are a decentralized organization based in Kiev, in Ukraine. So we help fight PTSD amongst war veterans and citizens, probably like humans. So first of all, before I answer your question, I want you to know that the next people that will be coming into blockchain will be coming in for solutions and not finance. Now, the era that blockchain is actually going into will actually surpass the era of finances. Okay, we all know that when we all got when we first heard of blockchain, there was this epiphany called DeFi, decentralized finance. I can bet that everyone in this room actually came into blockchain through the DeFi ecosystem, because the financial market, the fintech market, was very, very hot. So they're looking on how to translate into the next level tech. So that was when everybody DeFi. But then DeSci came out, real life solutions, something I can relate to, something that can actually match up to me. Like if I tell you now, go to the store, buy something with BNB, you go to the market, I want to buy something, I want to pay with BNB. It doesn't make sense. That's not relatable. And most of the times, you can't even make a normal landed payment unless they want to get the landed property. Let me pay with BNB. No, you need to send it to USDT or something. So that shows you that the next era of blockchain is an era of solution. So at Spectro DAO, we are offering solution that Ukraine actually needs right now. We check the situation that is happening in Ukraine. 3.5 years of war. Over 1 million plus 7 persons already died, are already dead from the war. We all know the scars of war, destruction, loss of loved ones, and the rest. And now, as someone in the military, what comes back to you after the war is the trauma that actually happened. It plays in your head, you live there rent-free. So we are here to use a research that was actually funded by some medical students in Stanford University that proves that if you use an ibogaine, you could solve 88% of PTSD tests inside your body. No, these all traced in the neurotoxin loop at the back of your cerebrum. So we use ibogaine formula to actually solve that problem. So now, in the marketing aspect of DAOs, where it actually drives community, first of all, if your DAO is actually solving problems relatable to human, I don't think everyone will ever skip going there. We as human, we love solutions more than any other thing. That's why in Africa, churches are always plenty, because we hear that if you go to church, probably your solutions, you see your solution, okay, let's say power back services, anointing services, or breaking generational causes and stuff. That shows that human beings are solution-based people. Nobody likes problems. Everybody wants solutions to their problem. So if you are now actually solving a pressing need, I don't see you having to convince someone much to actually come on board. It flows naturally. Secondly, your DAO must be as transparent as possible. How do you do this? Where can I contribute? What do I get from contributing? What are the benefits? How can I get my solution drafted out? That is what we are doing in Spectro DAO. You come to our hospital, we test you, use our curing. Our curing detects whether your PTSD is mid, high, or low. Each of those PTSD level has its own cure. And then we have an ambulance, a mobile ambulance, where you can actually pick you up and also test you there. We also have an agentic AI where you can actually connect the curing to and it reads your medical data and store it on-chain in a way that even if you are going to Budapest, Hungary, you are going to Austria, you can also access your medical data without having to go to the hospital to get it in a file. So your DAO must have transparency. First of all, it must solve solution, not just, it must solve a human-related solution, a present solution for that matter. Secondly, it must have transparency. Third, it must be more beneficial to the
consumers than the manufacturers. Now, the main purpose of getting into business is profit making. That's why some companies actually endanger the lives of their customers. Let's say you are buying Coca-Cola, which ingredients 7 cubes of sugar inside a solution in order to make it sweet. Yes, you are refreshed after taking it, but then at the end of the day, when you grow old, you stand a chance of getting diabetes or something. But then, if your dad was actually solving the problem, it's actually helping the consumers grow. Now, this is what happens. My dad used to say that before a tank distribute water to the house, first of all, drinks the water to the food. If you are solving a problem to someone, you have to benefiting entirely. Where the market, where the Web2 community, where people actually make profit the most, it's where they are offering the best solutions. Data, the reason why you cannot live without data is because your food has now become a big part of you. If Airtel and the rest of the telecommunication companies goes down, I don't think we survive 24 hours. They are actually solving a very pressing need that we need more than them. But then because we need that more than, because we need it more than them, we give them whatever we have to get what we want. So if you're now actually solving more needs than you, definitely you are like it's a two-way thing. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And I don't know if you're taking a lot of notes. So if you are like a science scientist and you want to create a DAO or contribute to a DAO, give very important points. Make it consumer focused, let's be transparent, and focus on actual solutions rather than generic things. So yeah, so this is just going to be like general questions for all our panelists, and it's just going to be from the topic that we've been continuing on, which is the decentralized science operational models for sustainable research ecosystems in Africa. The general question is like, if you could share one piece of advice from your specific DAO's playbook. So the playbook here is the keyword. I don't know if we have basketball emphasis here, but when you have one playbook, it revolves around a team sport. And that translates into a DAO. It is not just someone that makes the decisions. It is the contribution of every single entities in the DAO. And that's the concept of decentralization. So be it in strategy, operations, or funding, I believe is the most essential part of a new DeSci project starting in Africa today. Where would it be? So let me just streamline this question further. It's just like we are asking that you should share one piece of advice respective to your DAOs that you think is the major problem or the major solution of a new DeSci project. Should we eventually want to start one in Lagos today? What should be that focus? So I'll start with Daniel. I'll start with Daniel, then Rebecca, then questions. Daniel, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, like I was telling the CEO of Spectrum DAO, who has plans of building a research hub in Nigeria, probably by next year. I was telling him one thing. See the African ecosystem, we are very adaptable. That's one thing to know about us. We adopt a lot of things very, very fast. Now, before we adopt that thing, it must first of all be something that makes sense to us. Now, there are a lot of persons. Let me use let me go to be a little bit fun. Like basketball and football. If you want to measure the rate of people that play basketball in Africa and people that play basketball, like people that play football and people that play, you see that the football guys are 3 times more than the basketball guys. Yes, and it's true. Because the way to says, before I play basketball, I need to look for a court, right? But football, I can just go to my backyard and just pick 2 stones. So it must be something that, first of all, I actually improvise. You can't tell me, let's say, you are solving a loop in the nearest exit area. No, it doesn't make sense. Like this PTSD, it affects everyone. It affects everyone, whether you're male, whether you're female, 10-year-old, 80-year-old, or something. So if you are coming in here to talk to someone about how you could help them fix up their PTSD, they will listen. But sorry, Precious, if you are coming here to say, I think that all the men are going to work out, like you'll not be as interested as probably back in our secondary school days when you want to teach female reproductive system, all the boys run to the front. But then, if you are actually doing something that actually relates to everyone, is this adoption in Africa? So probably, this thing is actually relatable, actually a new way of solving this problem. Why not? Let's try it out. And then there's always this level of information where you pass it around.
your friend, before you know your friend is there, before you know 100, 1,000, everybody is aware of it. Just like when Opay came out as gold. Before you know, it started free transaction, free transfer. One or two people started knowing about it, and now the whole Nigeria now Opay. So first of all, it needs to make sense to us. If it doesn't make sense to us, we don't see ourselves going into it. That's the first marketing strategy of anyone coming to Africa to build a DeSci project. First of all, the DeSci project needs to make sense to us. It needs to relate to our African story. It needs to relate to our African dilemma. It needs to relate to our African problem. Then from there now, we can adopt it. From there now, there can be success in it. But that's just how it works. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Rebecca, do you want to add to?
Thank you for the question. So I think the relativity here that you mentioned is what is making the women's health underfunded, right? So when you see people who think women's health is not a general health issue, that is why most times now you see people battling with endometriosis and then irregular periods, and then you see a young girl who is even unable to conceive. And the knowledge gap is still wide. In Africa today, I think if you meet maybe an average lady and you're asking her, oh, PCOS, endometriosis, they will look at you like, what are you saying? Do you get? And it is actually happening with women now, even in Lagos today. So to answer your question, I'm just going to say operations is key first, because community, you need to build the people. You need to gather mission-aligned people. And then when you build the people, you find out that governance will follow, funding will follow, and the other likes that is actually happening right now to the other DAO around the world, everything is going to align properly. So I'll go with building the people first, and then every other thing follows.
Thank you so much for that. Last but not the least, Precious.
Thank you. I think everyone has spoken well. A typical advice I would give anyone who is trying to build a DeSci project in Africa would be start small, be transparent, and more importantly, focus on community, and begin to prioritize community than the technology. I will explain. The dilemma of many African founders is the fact that we try to build like we are in Silicon Valley. That's why you see the same type of solution over 1,000 fintechs. We are as Africans, first of all, how you can eat, sleep. We don't care about, so you have to pay attention to educating people. And it is the wrong thing, but it is what it is. As Africans, we think conditioned to take steps from our lived experiences. And I'll give you perspective. US has been in Nigeria for about 10 years. But in 2023, there was a cap. Nobody thought about each transaction, nobody paid attention to it until it became a lived experience for us that in 2023 there was cash scarcity. You can't even cash to spend. I don't know if it makes sense. Then all of a sudden, I would not be surprised if you make an hour's POS. We have POS and POS and PIN. So as an African human, you can't entirely rely on your technology. Nobody gives it. You are conditioned to survive. So that's why how many of us have life insurances? You can get up to 5% of what you don't have. Because you can eat, you can sleep, you have to show that. The same thing with prior to 2020, they had been Skype, they had been Zoom, they had been Google Meet. But until we saw lockdown, I'm sure prior to 2020, they had suggested in your workplace that all these physical meetings, you know, we can do it from our houses. They will have taken a lazy, they will not agree. Until it became a unique experience for us, everything shut it down. The cost of Zoom went up by over 6,000%. Why? You get to so you must first of all understand that until you recondition people to make them realize by education that they need something, no matter how grand your technology might seem. You mentioned
something about OP. It was because it was relatable. Both seniors, students, market women, we were having issues with transactions. We were having issues with our bank deducting our money unnecessarily. But it became clear the problem you're trying to solve. Make sure it becomes a huge experience. Many times you come from the standpoint of, so you are preaching to an average African, you are saying 55% of people do this. They don't care. Or if you actually make it a huge experience, I am sure if there is something, if something comes to Nigeria now, and they say for you to survive this virus, you must run on the treadmill and think about 10,000 steps. James will be filled, people will be filled. We can't keep telling people now that in 50 years, something, we're trying to focus on the technology that we have treadmills, we have steam machines. We don't care what I think can do once, like now I'm thinking to me. So I'm an African viewer, it doesn't make sense if I'm speaking to an American audience. But an African viewer, you feel like your problems are targeted to people's lived experiences. The market woman in the market, she needs loans. And she wants to borrow loans that will not come for Stop those type of problems that your work technology is thousands so perfect. People would rush into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that comes to the end of our panel session. I believe that everyone were able to pick a two from it. And let's move on to the next session. So, let's celebrate our panel today.
Let us give them a round of applause once again. So movers, you are going to need the blueprints as we move on to the next phase of this program. I know you are getting close to the end of the program. I know it's been a long program. If you're listening or if you pay attention to everything that has been discussed so far, of course you will see a lot of sense in everything that has been said. So now our aim is for this presentation. Going to begin on the impact of research and policy on science-based competencies, and that is none other than Dr. Oyaoluwa Bamigboye. So please give him a round of applause as he comes forward for his session. Give him a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Bamigboye. What's going on? I'm just kidding. So, I am Bamigboye. So I look at time. So if you don't mind, let's just revise and let's just do a simple task. If you don't mind. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing people. Thank you. Intelligent people. Thank you. All right. Okay, so I expect let's come on. So rubber bounce. I mean, let's rub. Let me rub. All right. So when I say stop, you hit it and then you know. Yeah. So rub, louder, stop. Okay, let's do it again. Let's rub. Keep rubbing faster, louder. Stop. All right, last time now. Let's go again. Rub, and then stop. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I mean, I'm excited. Thank you so much for coming up. So, I'm speaking on the impact of research on as it's being projected and policies on science-based businesses. It interests me to probably see people gathered, seated, since morning till now, willing to learn about DeSci, and then I'm amazed, and it's beyond expectation because I wasn't expecting so much people seated, and like Scott mentioned, it's being projected, it's being head live, and people are watching yesterday and today. It goes to the fact that we are making attempts to beyond, consuming solutions now. We are trying to be problem solvers as well. Okay, so next time. I'm trying to rush. I know my time, and then I don't want to just my time. Okay, next one. Just do you mind giving me a kicker? Kicker. So this is just me. Pretty simple. Just so you have an idea of who I am. Okay, next slide. All right, so next one again. All right, so let's just go through it together. Talking about passion, talking about solution. Okay, just go back. Let's just for the quote. Yeah, okay. Passion drives the faster and profit for rigorous research builds the engine, as we have seen. They mentioned earlier talking about data consumption, data cleaning, open access data, and everything. Passion for research is the foundation. Next slide again. So, talking about the impact of research, I came up with this introduction. You can just go through it while you are preparing content, debating it. But so far, Africans were trying, for DeSci, I'm sure global, and then DeSci Africa, and then DeSci Nigeria. I'm sure, like Saeed that said, he came up with solutions when during break. I'm sure that, as we are going on break now, we can come up with solutions, and as we are trying to even while we are bored, we can come up with different solutions that we need for ourselves in Africa. All right, next slide. All right, so I'm an agricultural enthusiast. My PhD International Business Management, my MSc Animal Production Management, my PhD Animal Science, and I have passion for agriculture. Like someone said, during this last panel, food is what everybody eats. After you food, seminars of coding and everything, you must look for hot vegetable and bush meat to probably calm down the tiredness and everything. So everybody eats daily. I found that to be interesting to say, I want to have my niche here, to make my money here, and I make money daily. I make money daily, selling feed ingredients for livestock, and I consult, do a lot of stuff. So, and I came up with this to say that we make too much, at the same time we lose more than even the budget we need to produce. Let's talk about tomatoes. We produce after production, it still ends up in landfills. I had a personal experience that I grew back. I harvested 100 bags in Ibadan and I brought it to Lagos. Between Ibadan and Lagos, I was only able to sell 33 bags out of 100 bags. 67 bags gone. So, very. So, and the driver called me to say, where's my balance? I'm like, bro, we are in this together, we lose together, so don't call this number again. So just say that this happens to us every day. But in that time, decentralizing science, what can we do to make it better? All right, so let's I'm only trying to rush because of my time. Pardon me, I can do this, I'm a lecturer as well. But because of time, I'm trying to stick to my time. All right, so let's interact with this for a minute. Someone talked about value of debt. I think, Scott, I will still make reference to value of debt here again. But here we are talking about the allocation that's supposed to go into funding of science research and policies. But unfortunately, in Africa and then back home in Nigeria, where we have less than 0.2% of the funding that comes to research and then policies. Policies, we could probably say is too much talk, but eventually it makes a lot of sense in the long run. I was in Vietnam early this year. I heard like a deal, you have paid so much for a hotel and you feel, you must give value for your money. I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, everything back to back, overhead and everything. I never touched for once. I don't eat this place in Nigeria. I can never try. I never tried this way in Nigeria. I don't do breakfast, lunch, and dinner sometimes. But the point is, the policy in Vietnam says that no importation of food into Vietnam. Food consumed in Asian countries is 99% produced in Asian countries. they close their borders to import anything. And once she benefits China, chances are very slim that you're able to probably penetrate their borders to probably export anything into China. That's policy, all right? So talking about policy, you might think it's too much talk, but eventually it makes a lot of sense. All right, so this is a global habit, 2.2% of the GDP must be invested in agriculture, in research and policies. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have so way less than that invested in that. And then now talking about funding. Funding research needs funding. I'm a researcher. I fund research needs funding. All else probably be burned out, you halfway. You lose track, you burn out. It's a lot. Like someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Kilem saying that some people call them nerds because they were naked to their researches because they can't afford the time to probably go and wash their jeans, do stuff, and they were stuck with whatever they were doing. So it's not because they don't want to, but because the passion for what they were doing outweighs the passion for other things. All right, so and then talking about funding research and everything in Nigeria and Africa, we don't have money to do that. And then you want to go to banks, commercial banks, presently is above 30%, sometimes 32, sometimes 35, and sometimes 20. Next slide. Next slide. All right, so let's not talk about value of debt. Talking about the funding for research, university grants, and then commercial sources. So you talk about publish or perish. Now we're talking about publish and flourish. This is more like a representation of what's actually going on in the marketplace and then academics. I think someone mentioned as well. I think it was Unisa that mentioned that he's more of a researcher and then a marketplace. I know in the same category. I never set out to lecture. I plan that I will come from field to the class. I never set out to be a lecturer. It interests me. I learn a lot from lecturers. But why I found myself back in the class is because I have something to offer. I have solutions, I build products, and I have interns that have actually supported in their careers to build products. I'm supporting a guy in Nigeria building drones. I have another guy that sells water as a service. So I have products that have helped people to build, locally in Nigeria. So this is where we have Nigeria, unfortunately. That's why we have talking about research and then policies. But I'm happy to hear some things about health solutions in Nigeria. To go to what she was saying and then other things about human health, probably is misappropriation of funds or probably lack of interest in one thing and then the other. I probably won't be about that because it might be controversial. All right, so the science-based business reality. Here we are. God, I want to skip this slide. I can go to the next one. Okay, Nigeria, Lagos, youth. I will skip. You can share slides. Feel free to share slides. Skip again. All right, so here is more like a typical representation. You can't find Africa, you can't find Nigeria again. Talking about GDP invested in scientific research. Nigerians depend on grants. We all depend on grants 247. 247, unfortunately. It's actually like I always tell people in your trade. We are trading, we are making so much money. Like I mentioned it in Nigeria, but they don't have the passion for research or funding it. Thankfully, we have young minds who like to learn score DeSci Nigeria, DeSci Africa, and DeSci Abroad, trying to see how we can fund research. But the big guys don't care about research now. This is a nation. And they're talking about Malabo Panel Declaration 2020, talking about agriculture. When they said at least 10% of your budget has to do with agriculture. As we speak in Nigeria, only 1% of our budget is being dedicated to agriculture. Food production, and then the goal of Malabo 2014 was to state that by 2025, one guy will probably have estimated the background. By now, is it true? Is it achieved? Is it achieved? No, unfortunately, because Nigerians and Africans don't. But I think that the narrative is changing now because I can see young minds, intelligent, with different products and everything. So I'm excited. I'm excited and let's transfer for ourselves. So we are going this. Please just like so you can skip. And then, thirdly, our company has something in the pharmaceutical industry. The reality dawned when COVID stopped, right? When the new Africans got to travel, Nigerians got to travel, and they say you can't travel without COVID vaccines, right? I mean, COVID impact in Nigeria, probably Nigeria, was way below what they expected to of us, right? And they knew that, okay, the next thing to get us was to say that we didn't know we love to travel. And they say you can't travel to the next continent of the country without a COVID vaccine. And then they got it. But then they still gave us the expired vaccines to us because we don't afford to pay. And the nice thing is that somewhere in Africa, who can remember where in Africa where a country developed vaccines, but they did not really accept it well? Yeah? On Google to say somewhere in Nigeria, somewhere in Africa where vaccine was developed, but there's no evidence of that on Google. I would think that reality. Talking about how LLMs, how we push our narratives, media, and the likes. It's just unfortunate, but we are going places, right? Because I can see young intellectual people in the room, and then unfortunately, like I said earlier, COVID happened, nothing. I mean, thankfully for melanin and nature, we didn't die expected. But I mean, we got to lesser than. All right, so next, Russia. All right, so because it's just about research and R&D and then business, that's why I'm more focused on that. So energy access. I mean, we can't do anything sustainably in Africa and Nigeria without energy. Energy goes to government. I run a factory, and then I run my factory for over the past 7 years on digital. I've never tapped federal government power because it can't even power more where I am. Just saying that, I mean, we said these need 24 hours lights, right? Infrastructure is part of it. Present facilities that they are advanced manufacturing beyond just, I think we are trying to grow businesses, we comport stuff in our room and everything, but we're going to actually come to solutions that actually going to scale the products. We need to probably have infrastructure. Next slide. All right. So, and then this was, tasked by what's it called? Saying that investments in digital and creative enterprise, the created funds to it, and then hopefully the fund is not diverted, embezzled, and all those stuff. But we are trying, and we can do better. So next slide. So here, I mean, next slide. So talking about fintech, I mean, that is all mentioned it. Nigerians and fintech are like 5 and 6. But I mean, it is right time we stop it. It's right time, talking about laboratory, we're talking about maybe embryo, talking about in vitro, in vivo fertilization, feeding. There's nothing of such in Africa. We can do it. I mean, so China, I mean, probably I'm wrapping up, probably got my slides. China, Trump came to say no more foreign students in Harvard University, right? Because of who? China comes into to learn the best of the best technologies and go back to China to replicate the same for them. MVP, and then they do, and then they're everywhere in the world, they own the world, literally. That's also between China and Nigeria, and America, US. So the point is, Donald Trump is trying to say that we know these guys come to Harvard to learn and go back to replicate what they have seen, and they didn't do better. But Africans, Nigerians, we run the shows in global health tech. Anywhere in the world, the best of the doctors are Nigerians, I can tell you for free, in the world, in UK, anywhere in the world, but we do not come back to Africa. Yes. We have a long way to go. We are doing stuff, and like I mentioned earlier, as part of my wrapping up, enough of paintings. We've had enough of that, right? Payment gateway, money points, we have sought that was, and people are trying, rather than depend so much on this, we can as much as possible come up with, boost R&D. I mean, policies, like I mentioned about China. China says anybody that goes to anywhere in the world, they want them to go, and then they tell them to come back, and they actually come back home. And that's why Singapore, anywhere in Asian countries, they are the first, and they are the first. I think I'll wrap up this talk. If you have any question, you can ask. Because of time, I won't run through. You can just flip, and then let's just have it. All right. I think I want to have so any question or any comments, any contribution. Anybody? Sorry, I wrote. It's not because of me, because of us. Because we have to go and struggle to try. So I don't want to pause it. Any question, any comment? No. If you get anything, are you sure? What is it? What is it? Just one feedback. All right.
Sorry, I have a question. Good everybody. I'm Vexelia, and actually, I'm the founder of Excel Dell. It's a DeSci product, but we are focused on the community building right now. So I would love to ask, like you said, you fund research, right? So what if you are just starting and you don't have the funding to fund research? How do you go about telling people to like fund researchers? Because so research is very, very underfunded, and it's not really funded right now because they just believe it's just take offense. But now people living with sickle cell are growing older and they are living, their health is deteriorating, but they are growing older. They are actually living long, but they are having different health issues, and there is no research about it. So how do you do that?
Thank you for that brilliant question. I think this is why we're here. So, number one, Mastercard Foundation gives a lot of money for projects like this. I want to assure and share my contacts with you. I mean, there are a lot of sickle cell foundation that we support in Mastercard Foundation. I don't work with them, but I work with EDC, Enterprise Development Center, Lagos Business School. So, I mean, I can probably link you up with people that does that, because sickle cell research is not what I have. I'm not an institution. Do you understand? It's way beyond my pocket. I'm sure. I'm certain. Do you understand? So, I can link you up with that. I mean, you have to write proposals, dial, attract investment. But they have a lot more than they have to try. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so mine is more like comment reacting to innovations around other industries and not specifically things. So my understanding is every industry has different phases, right? The early phases, the mid phase, and maybe when it's properly saturated. And from where we see today in the finance aspect of the industry, right? I feel even as populated as the industry will be different fintechs coming up, still need to into it. And the reason why I say that is because initially we felt the banks have solved some of these problems until we looked in the people like OP, InterSwitch, MoneyPoint came and instead providing a whole new level of solutions that everybody started jumping. And while we are still having OP, InterSwitch, and whatnot, some very great young men are really leveraging on blockchain technology, because even till today, we still have issues with cross-border payment. And so many of these fintechs have started going into cross-border payments using blockchain technology to solve those problems. And in the near future, they will eventually break through, right? Now, other industries like the health sector, travel business are getting into, and I think like they're very much in the early phase, right? In terms of how much we've been able to extract from that those particular industries and solve problems for the average Nigerian. And until we leave the early phase, right, and get midway, then we'll start seeing these traction that you would want to eventually see. And then we have one last question. What do you think today as an agro-business person, right, that you can leverage on to actually bridge that gap of being in a continuous early stage and getting midway? I was listening to Dangote and he was like, challenge this ever, he said, in the next 3 years, he will be the biggest user of fertilizer in the whole world, right? This is a very big goal. And I feel if the smaller businesses can actually tap into what Dangote has planned, then we're able to really go far in the agro business. And same applies to the health sector and whatnot. I mean, these are ways that we can actually improve. But today, for you as an agro business owner, how do you think you can actually leverage on what you guys are already doing to solve the problem of funding and funding that?
All right, thank you for that brilliant, and yes, intelligent question. So, the one for, the one you mentioned, about early phase stages in different industries, I will still say for agriculture that time is of essence, all right? For agriculture, time is of essence. We don't produce much, the little we produce perishes. Imagine that science, that R&D going to waste after so much. So, that's that. And then talking about rejection, we produce little, and then even from the little we produce, probably because it's organic, we export and then they get rejected. Now going to possibility. We can't trace our products. I've been to Ghana several times and work with probably more like next door. They can trace any of their products to anybody, to any farmer. Anything goes wrong, they can trace. You go to Walmart, Tesco, you buy anything from Ghana, you scan, you know the farmer that produced that. Absolutely, you can check that online. So, but unfortunately, in Nigeria, that doesn't happen yet. We have aggregators, people that aggregate without, any reference to the farmer that produced it, and they are big maker amount. Right? So, talking about we have some received NFTs. All this is applied to us as well, but nothing of such is being done yet. So the point is just that time is of essence. More like the farmers as well. I was in a conference like this some years ago, and the professor, the keynote speaker, he just came out of good intention to say that Nigerian pharmacists are trained to dispense drugs. So very funny as it be. And then the pharmacist came up. Unfortunately, it was in the meeting as well. He came up. He was venting. He was raging. He was angered. But in Nigeria, what's the case truly? What's the case truly in Nigeria? We import drugs from India, China, anywhere in the world, right? To dispense, to sell. Is it so? The point is, the earlier we start coming up with something, the better for us, all right? So I think that answers the question. We can still engage in the further after. I can see Caleb right beside. One more lady, gender balance. One more lady, quickly, comment anything. Lady, Rashida. Yes. Any comment, anything? Oh, now I got you. They should give it to call it. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I'm Chelsea. I don't really have a question, right? But I just would appreciate you. Thank you for the breakdown and everything. In as much as we are scientists, such as students, we still need agriculture as well, and we still need to eat food to press our laptops. Thank you.
Let us give him and let me choose a round of applause once again. We take the name of Chelsea. Back. Thank you everybody for being so patient with us and for listening. I know a couple of you are tired already. There is one man that I caught, he was playing FC online, is it FIFA? You don't have himself there. Check out where I'm conference. I will back it up. Let me give you a round of applause as it stands up. So you think my life will play. Don't see when you win against did you win or lose? If you win, you stand up. Don't let me point you out. Don't stand up and still on time. Give him a round of applause. He chose to be kind of trust him. I think he didn't win himself. Then we'll teach him to do. Yeah.
GM guys. My name is Anthony. I'm actually doing different. Different here.
So what did you win? You win or lose?
Okay.
You're still playing. Your ultimate I can use it.
Man United. All right. Please, I want to advocate that you give us your attention. We're almost at the end of the program. I promise you. I've been promising this, and you guys trust me. We never have a choice. Let me trust me. Anyway, moving on to the next part of the program, we're going into the final session. So we're going to have a couple of people come forward and have a conversation on the future of sustainable research using tokenomics, governance, and data privacy. I hope I got that right. And to facilitate this panel session is another beautiful lady in pink. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Fermi, as she comes forward to handle the panel session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not satisfied with our responses. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, thank you very much. So, like Pierre said, we are gradually coming to the close of 2025, and I know I have learned a whole lot. I don't know, have you learned anything? I know you all have learned a lot. I came here with very minimum knowledge, right, about what decentralized science is. And then I have answered a few questions myself. So please give me a round of applause. I can't hear the applause, and then let's give a round of applause to our speakers, our panelists, and to ourselves for being here today. Please give yourselves a round of applause. I'm not satisfied. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you very much. So very quickly, I'm going to be in the experts who will be joining us to take this last panel session for the day, the future of sustainable research using tokenomics, governance, and data privacy. Right. So first we have Sean Biri, who will be focusing on tokenomics and incentives. Please let's give Sean Biri a round of applause. Thank you very much. We have Abuda Toluwani, specializing in governance and DAO finance. Please let's give Abuda a round of applause. We have Imelda Uboke, bringing deep expertise in data privacy and security. Please give Imelda a round of applause. And finally, securing smart contracts and navigating the Web3 landscape. We have Godson Ebenua. Please very much. Please let's give them a round of applause again. We know I have a name for class, right? So please, a round of applause. Thank you very much. So I will be moving very quickly. Our time is fast spent. Shimon, right? Okay, welcome. In data, right, tokens are not just for trading and they power the ecosystem, right? I mean, we've established that fact. So I want to ask you, can you briefly explain the concept of utility token in a DeSci demo to our audience?
Yeah. All right.
Hi everyone. Hello everybody. Yeah. The question was utility in DeSci Lagos. And first is just have to take it from like a general perspective. Generally, what does utility mean? I'm sure everyone, at least you are university students or you have passed the stage of university, you know what utility means, which means use, basically, simply put, use. So, and I'm sure, I think you did economics, you did utility in economics in secondary school too. And the usefulness of a particular thing, that's the utility of the particular or the characteristics of the thing. That's what utility means. And now let's bring it to Web3. Utility tokens generally are useful tokens. So what we mean by that is, yeah, trading is a utility. That's like the general purpose of a token. When you see token, when you see cryptocurrency, it's used to like provide value, maybe to trade. Trading is part of your utility, assets, incentivization, and all of the other things. So in the Web3 sense or in the crypto sense, utility is in a token, it's just not for trading now. There are other things that you can use trading to do. Like you have various token types. You have you have NFTs, you have IP NFTs, you have tokens in self cryptocurrency. That's the EIP 7724, something like that. So yeah. So what utility means in crypto is using your token to coordinate particular behaviors. So for behaviors that you like to see in a particular ecosystem, or for example, I want people to use this token as an access point, or I want these people to use this token as a governing power, or I want people to use this token as what else? Like various utilities to gain access to incentivize, you want to incentivize a particular behavior. So that's what utility token is. And it might be in form of trading, it might be in form of governance, it might be in form of access to a particular platform. It's just that's what utility means. And now let's bring it down to like this side, which is decentralized science. I'm sure a lot of speakers have come over the course of today to tell you about what decentralized science is. And yeah, because decentralized science is a blockchain project, or is on the blockchain. And what we use to incentivize various behavior in these DAOs are your tokens. So that's the difference. Your tokens are like one of the major differences, which is decentralization. It's one of the major differences between your typical science and your Web3 science, which is your decentralized science. So for utility, what utility now means in these side tokens is using your token as a DAO, as a project, as an AI agent to coordinate particular behaviors you want to see. Behaviors that will lead to decentralization of science in a particular aspect. So for example, you use token to incentivize researchers. So regardless of whether, okay, your experiment worked or your research worked, you are researching, fine, let's compensate you with particular token. Another example is for publishing in Web3 publishing, you can use your token to as a utility for people to have access. So for example, in your general journals or your publishing journals, you pay like $30 or so. You can just need access to like for RSC, for example, in our researcher, you can just like, okay, I have 100 RSC, log in into this platform and publish, and you get peer reviewed. Also, another way to coordinate behavior is when you are peer reviewing, for people to peer review, you can use your tokens to, okay, let me pay for peer reviews, things like that. You can have incentivization of behaviors, basically. What you want to see, the positive things you want to see in your decentralized ecosystem or in your decentralized science ecosystem, use your token to incentivize it. Another thing is for access. That's another ability that tokens do in DeSci. And what I mean by access is I gave an example to get access to a particular platform, to get access to a particular research. So most DAOs right now, they fund research. So for you to have access to also have a say in a particular research, there's also IPNFCs in centralized science to have access to a particular research. So IPNFCs work like giving real life, okay, I'm a scientist, I come to a particular DAO, they decide DAO, they funded me, and this is my research, this is my patents, or this is the intellectual property of my research, and I am going to mint it on chain as an NFT. So you take your proprietary your intellectual property and you mint it on chain. Then for me to now say, okay, I want to have access to this, I have to use a particular token to buy that. And like it might be rewards of the token, it might be governance rights for that particular research. It might be so that's another case point for utility. Then I think the last one is basically reputation. So one thing that you know in NFTs or in Web3 is you have your NFTs for reputation. So for example, you are like a new person in, let's say, Project Penguins now. So you just like, oh, this is OG. You meet your NFTs, things like that. You can also have that for science. So for example, how many peer review you've done in a particular ecosystem or in a particular research, you get that. You mean that then you're now a certified reputation, or you have like a certified reputation for peer reviews. So these are like the utilities. They are not limited to this though, but like for you to understand what utility means, you just need to like just have it at the back of your mind that for centralized science, you can use your tokens, which is like your cryptocurrency, maybe your native token, your NFT to incentivize particular behaviors, to form reputation or to give reputation, and finally to have access and many more. So that's what utility means in decentralized.
Thank you very much for that deep insight, I must say. And then just to emphasize, the utility token is not just about the price. I mean, it's used as access pass, as rewards, for voting rights and all of that in the DeSci ecosystem. So thank you very much, Shim. So my next question here is for Abuda Toluwani, and it's on the concept of governance. So can you help us demystify what governance means and how it applies to science and research projects? Just very briefly, because of our time.
All right, so I'll go very briefly. Governance is a course, especially DAO governance, is a course on its own. So governance simply means selection process, making decisions, and the rest of that. So in DeSci, DeSci generally operates within DAOs. DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, and I believe that DeSci is actually one of the best use cases to DAOs because it actually constitutes what the closest you can get to what an ideal DAO should look like. So there are real DAOs and the ideal DAOs. Real DAOs generally they haven't gotten the DAO process. I remember checking through Daniel Ospina is an organization specialist and talks about DAOs. And he was speaking about the problem contributes with DAOs and how it is not fully decentralized yet. But this time, when it comes to their governance model, it's actually what DAOs actually look to do in terms of selection process for projects and products looking to get funded. So just to clarify, when we talk about governance in DeSci DAOs, basically the selection process in DAOs, they have different working groups and different places where you work. We have the operations, we have the communications and marketing, and we also have the governance and tokenomics. So in the governance and tokenomics working group, this is where we select organizations or products, projects which are going to get funded. So comparing this to traditional science, the governance process is such a reputation based. What does this mean? So for instance, I am a professor and I have published a lot of papers, I have gotten grants before. It increases my reputation. So it is way harder for a newer researcher or a newer person entering scientific research. Probably I'm a student and I made a research and got very interesting findings and I want to get a grant to further my research on the same topic that I made research about. It's very difficult for you to get a grant for that. So what you see at the end of the day is you see these researchers partnering with
a older researcher, someone who has gotten grants before and stuff like that to increase their reputation. So for DeSci Lagos, you don't have to go through that mechanism when it comes to governance. It's more of opens. So look at it as like crowdfunding. So obviously there has to be a deep flow team that selects the projects or the products which are going to get funded based off the organizational structure or what the organization needs. Then after it goes through the community. So the governance is done through governance tokens where most are done through governance tokens, not all. Most are done through governance tokens where you're putting power in the number of tokens that you have. I don't want to waste more time on that, but tokens are sort of like governance tokens act like shares in the organization. So instead of having to go to a body that looks at you and say, okay, you have not gotten a grant before, what is your reputation like in the scientific space? Rather than what you actually have to offer in terms of your scientific research. So DeSci Lagos actually play a part in this new governance model for people who are looking to get grants and funding for their scientific research.
Okay, that was amazing, Tuluwani. Thank you very much. Imelda, I have one question for you. Very, very quickly, please. So from your perspective, can you just share the key first steps organizations and people must implement to ensure a threat-free environment for data and overall management?
Good afternoon, everyone. So, well, I think it's all about security, right? When you are dealing with data, you should always have security in mind. So, security should not be an afterthought. So in the cybersecurity industry, they call it secure by design. So when you are starting to build anything, have in mind that you already put in security. So a practical example I'm going to give is just an engineer that is trying to design a building. The reason why they put doors in the building is because they already have in mind that, oh, thieves can come in by the time they are done building this house. Or even before people moving into their house, they must have put gates, put keys, they have different doors, have different keys to the doors and all of that, right? So the reason why they do all of these things is that they are getting ready for any negative thing that is going to happen. They don't have to wait. So that's how bringing that concept back into cybersecurity, it's all about when you are building anything, have security in mind. Some of the things, some of the maybe principles that you can implement, we have IAM, Identity and access management. We have the use of MFA, multi-factor authentication. We have awareness as well, because most times you can't protect what you don't know. You have to know your assets. You have to know the asset value before you can now put security to them. Another thing is that organizations to also know how to classify their data. We have confidential data, we have data that can be private, we have some that can be public. So you have to classify your data so that you can know the level of security you are going to put to each of those data. There are just a lot to this, but just know that when you are trying to build anything, have security in mind. Don't just build and then try to implement security. It doesn't work that way. It always go bad. So when you are building anything, when you are dealing with data, when you are trying to build anything, always have security in mind. Start from the scratch to implement security. As you go, you can have other controls that can help you improve your processes. Because security is a continuous process. It's not something that you just do it and you just relax. It doesn't work that way. So it's a continuous process. Technologies are evolving that the same way threats are also emerging. So we keep on improving the process. But when you are building anything, always have in mind that you have to build with a security mindset before you can even go live and deploy it for customers to use, for other end users to use. So yeah, thank you very much, Imelda. And lastly, I mean, we've talked about security, right? So God sake, so let's talk about mitigating mitigating smart contract risk. Now, funding immediately is automated by smart contracts, and if these contracts have bugs, the treasury can be drained, right? So what are top 2 security auditing steps or continuous monitoring practices that we should implement
before and after deploying the smart contracts for protection?
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so for smart contracts are the processes that help on the blockchain. They help keep issues that keep the contract of each user, like the system user and the user. Just makes everything go like it was, like the contract was supposed to. Unlike human beings that can fall time and go back on the contract. Smart contracts don't go back. Once they control the threats, they execute. That's the idea. And that's what keeps people safe. That's the idea of people not getting scammed. And yes, that's like the serial man. Bitcoin, they have their own cases of smart contract. That's what they want, and that's how they disburse based off of the agreement. So for smart contracts, while coding, because this is a developer issue, because while coding, people could use case and not abuse case. So like once they see that it works, they just want to just whether you can abuse case, you go, okay, can this product when I do it the other way, but also because yes, sometimes once it goes one way, they don't care about the other way. You can say, okay, people can leverage things. Sometimes you don't test as much as attackers will test. They will go back, they will turn your application upside down, or downside up. That's the idea. So when you are creating smart contracts, you have to put, you can never go wrong with budgets. Like, trust me, that's one of the, in some ways, that's one of the best ways to like get rates. What did you take your time to like go through the whole process? Where can these things be? You check all these things. That's like the first step. And the other step is to work bounties. In these were three spaces. In short, you rather not let the attackers find it first. Yes, incentivize people to find it, and you pay them for finding it. That's how it is. So that way you like mitigate the threat that would have been a big issue. Because if somebody finds that and keeps exposing it, the person might have exposed it till the end before you even find out that there's a loophole somewhere. The person is brilliant, has put usually everybody on the blockchain. So that's always a thing.
Thank you very much. We will not be taking any more questions, unfortunately, because of our time. But if you have questions, please meet them. I mean, personally, one-on-one. You'll be glad and open, right, to answering them. All right, it's been an amazing session at talk with you guys.
Sir. Hello again, everybody. I'm not tired of seeing my face and hearing my voice. Is everybody tired of me? Is everybody tired of me? All right. Thank you so much again for staying till now. We're very close to the end of the program. I can assure you in a couple of minutes while I'm heading out to here, we're taking pictures, we're exchanging numbers and everything. Right about now, I'm going to go into the penultimate session. But this session is very brief. For the next 10 minutes, a very beautiful lady is going to come forward to speak to us about something that I think is very interesting. You're also going to find it very interesting. She's going to be speaking on geological heritage conservation as a tool for environmental development. And I can assure you that this person can speak on this subject. She's somebody I know personally. So I'm really biased about this session, and I want you guys to listen. If you don't listen, we're in trouble. So please, ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding round of applause, welcome to this side of the hall, DeSci Chris. She's going to be speaking to us right now. You're not going to be in sound. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know we're all tired, but I believe this is a very important subject that we should talk about. And my name is Christiana Bulatwe-Fagbero, and you can call me Tife. And while the slide is coming up, I'll just answer a few questions. How many of us have been to any heritage sites? Let's say you've been to a hill, a waterfall, a cave. Can you just raise up your hand? Oh, beautiful. So my subject will be on this topic, and it's kind of like, oh, why are we doing DeSci? And we're talking about geology. But the truth is, I always tell people that we should all be geologists. the earth should be important to us, and there are ways we can actually preserve the data that we receive from this earth, and conserve it and preserve it for future use. Because if we're not documenting our future, our present rather, if we're not documenting our present, then I don't know what foundation we want to build the future on. So waiting for the technical team to display slide. So yes, so moving on, introduction again, I am Tika Chris, I am a geologist. I work with Energy and Mineral Resources Limited, and what we do is basically we find the oil, where the oil and gas is in Nigeria, and we provide our services. And aside that, I'm also an artist. I am a visual artist, and I founded an arts NGO, which is in that training people in art. So my work is a very, very interdisciplinary, my life actually is a very, very interdisciplinary world where I merge art, geology, and cultural heritage. These are the things I'm passionate about, and I believe there's a link to everything, and that's why I am here today to speak to you on geologic heritage conservation. I really need those slides actually. So, but I don't want to miss out anything, so I don't have to go back and move forward. Let's just keep the technical thing a minute. Okay, so let's go to a little last exercise. So I'll just a couple of us raise up our heads about visiting caves and whatnot, and these sites. And you can just tell us the location and the name of that place. So you raise up your hand. I'm getting a bit more beautiful. What has been to Aurora Waterfalls in Niger State? All right, thank you very much. It's so beautiful to know because I'm very particular about Olumoro because I did a project work there, and this is Olumoro. So next slide. Next slide, please. So, like I said, I am an intersection of different fields. I'm an artist and also a geologist. Next slide. And okay, so what are geological heritage sites and what are we talking about them today? So in 2020, I got on the Web3 trend. As an artist, I sold my works as NFTs, I sold my works as digital products without even going out of my house, right? And people from all over the world could see my work without even stepping out of their comfort zone. People out of Nigeria, out of Africa could buy my work without actually coming back to Nigeria. They could see I had an exhibition, on a decentralized system. And that opened my eyes to the possibilities of what this can be even in the scientific space. So I worked on a project of, documenting geologic sites. And geologic sites are areas of notable value. They have scientific value, they have cultural value, and are also aesthetically pleasing. And examples are Sumarok, others have mentioned that. So next slide. Well, why are we talking about this? So there's a problem we're actually facing in Nigeria, in fact, Africa as a whole, which is something that I want to just charge us here this evening to actually find ways and think of how we can actually make this better. So currently in Nigeria, we do not even have a standard heritage science inventory. I mean, you can't even go anywhere and say, oh, I want to check where this heritage site, I want to check heritage sites closer to me. There's no platform for that. So it is important that we actually document these processes, we actually document these places, both scientifically as scientists and as individuals as well. And this is a very good foundation for future research because some of the should I say occurrences that are happening now, I'm going to make this as shallow, not too deep in geology, are happening now, the flooding, everything that they're actually a result of things that happened in the past. And that's why it's important to document these features, these places, for future purposes. we're facing a lot of illegal mining. We see a lot of quarries being blasted. And in the future, we actually need to reference this. Next slide, please. So, like I said, conservation is the intentional protection and management of natural resources so that they are healthy, functional, because we don't want to just raise these things. We want to figure out how we will continue to be in existence in years to come. And most of these places that we mentioned, most of them are not being documented properly. Next slide. So, like I said earlier, we have a lot of beautiful places in Nigeria, but we're losing them gradually due to environmental degradation, we're not human activities as well, and we're not documenting them. But then, like I said, referencing my art solution, my problem, previously, moving to the next slide. So how can we document this place? How can we preserve them for the future? So starting last year, we launched a project called Variable, which is virtual reality on the go. And what we aim to do is to go to these sites, these geoheritage sites, and document them for virtual use. That is, from the comfort of your home, you can visit these places. Yes, it's not really a pressing need in Nigeria. Nobody cares. Nobody really wants to go on a virtual tour. But this is very important for our future archives. A lot of this data, a lot of these things that we are doing is actually very important for future years to come. So this is what we're working on. And for solving problem as scientists, I want us to actually think about this. How can we preserve the environment? How can we make the environment more better? How can we keep this archive? And these are a list of SDG goals that you can actually highlight and see as scientists and how to solve them as well. So moving to the next slide. And like I said, this is going to be a very brief presentation. So yeah, so the previous slide was about trying to get a digital model of the Jacob Museum. How many of us has been here? Now I can see Jacob Museum in Lagos here. Oh wow, I'm not from Lagos and I've been there. And I even have a digital copy as well. We have a digital inventory for that where we can actually go there. So these are one of the works that we are doing. And the second one was the geological of Udumore, where Dr. mentioned he was presently, and this work was actually sponsored. I presented in Nairobi in September. It was sponsored by UNESCO, so that organizations are actually looking into this. So if I'm interested in actually archiving this site of values, it's very important that we start right now. And to add to this, I was going to say that it's not just for geologists. It's not just geo sites, it's not just geoheritage sites. So we are looking to upload this inventory on the blockchain where everybody has access to it, access to get there. If you want to find out about any site in Nigeria, if you want to find out about any site you visited or you want to visit, you can get access to it, and it's a centralized system. So, in conclusion, in geology, we say the present is the key to the past. And the next slide, sorry. So the present is the key to the past, and without a very good preserved present, we don't have a strong foundation for the future. And I hope that with this, I've been able to tell you a little bit about geoheritage and the importance of preserving our culture, our values, our data systems, and we're living here, as better scientists, and we're thinking of new innovative solutions. Thank you very much.
I think we should give her a round of applause once again. All right, okay, picture. Scott, do you want to join now?
Okay.
All right, let us give her a round of applause once again. I'm talking about how I know her personally and I know what she does. I mean, it is amazing. In a couple of years, when you guys are old and you have grandchildren, the work she's doing is some of the things you're going to be referencing to feel like you're proud African, you're proud Nigerian. So I think it's beautiful that she has encouraged us to take interest in preserving our heritage and our culture. So thank you very much. We're going to have another 10-minute session. This 10-minute session, DSS is outside.
that person go beyond 10 minutes, I just don't believe and carry on and go. Right, so we're going to be having the last section, which is going to run for a couple of minutes. Apologies, there's still another session after that, but don't put this one as like the one for the last. Are we sure? Really good? Yeah. We see the same for our poultry beds. Are not feeling, fine or okay. How would you know? What do you know about farmers? Anybody? Okay, so in order to tackle this solution, that's what Silver AI is doing, right? So we built an AI application that allows us to be able to monitor bed health. Now, this is not just coming because we are trying to just design for design sake, right? I personally, I grew up with my dad farming, we do cassava farming and all of that. I also have poultry by the side. But we realized something that having poultry in our community back then, it was more of like a gamble, right? You can buy like 100 beds. At the end of the day, you are saying, I pay me like maybe 50 to survive now. You get it? So it's acting as though we are gambling to be able to get profit from the business. But remember, we are treating this as a business, not as bed manager or sporting beds. So how then can we be able to have something like this that will be able to help us? Through other times, you always suffer, you have beds die, and all of that. But each time there is this man we meet, and he tell me, you know what, snap the poo of the beds and bring it. Then when I meet the man, I say, buy this drug, go to the pharmacy, you get this drug for the beds. So like, by the time that stuff happened, it's like it's almost too late. Most of the beds are there. And I was supposed to continue the business, but at the end of the day, I cannot because I cannot have the vast knowledge to identify this. So I thought to myself, if this man can be able to decide that these beds are not okay because he was able to identify from the pool, how about you use computer vision to be able to do that in order to make this whole process very seamless? And at the same time, most people within my community also experiencing the same issue, right? Your dad, and all of that. So we were able to build this application, and when we built, when we built in 2023, it was more like people just build it and all of that. But at that time, I already stopped farming. I wasn't doing poultry beds and all of that again. But we ran the test in Benin. There was a friend of mine who was asking me to farm even though we were still in school. So he did the test and we realized that okay, we were getting average performance about 90 to 95% of the time. It was actually correct. So after that, we went to a farm here in Lagos, a large farm here in Lagos, and then alhamdulillah, they asked us, well, they don't really need the health disease kind of solution because the problem they were having was that most of their farmers or most of their workers were stealing the eggs that the birds were laying. So we went back again, this is also another problem. We're not going to the drawing board again. And this time we now built an inventory management kind of system using the same computer vision whereby the model is counting actively how many eggs have been laid on the farm. So it keeps count of it. So if at the end of the day, the farmer comes and count the egg, right? You don't match what the system is giving, you know that something has gone wrong. Now you have evidence to say that there is a death on farm. So we're able to do this, and I'm here to tell you about for most of us that want to go into poultry farming. This is an avenue for you. You can, meet us, we discuss about it. I'm going to let you know that we have a solution for you so that you'll be able to go into poultry farming with ease. This time around, you are not treating it as gamble, as though it is bed nature. Thank you.
You actually do that in record time. So if you're interested in Nova AI, please reach out to him. And for the last session, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me from Direct Protocol Africa, Cyrus, who's going to be giving us the last presentation.
the next 10 minutes. Sarah, Masai. Alright, it seems Sarah is now around. So what about now the moment you guys have been waiting for? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Justice Siri as a consul to thank you for coming and for not being the program. Okay, please keep the applause like you guys are really trying, like from the scratch to the end. And thank you all for coming for DeSci Lagos 2025. Interestingly, this is the second edition. The last edition that we did, as Scott already mentioned, was not like a very baby session, but like this is more grand. And they won it so today, and it's been really insightful. It's been great. It's been a lot of like takeaways that we should go back and actually like ponder upon as future scientists. Because Africa is in that edge. Africa is taking over, and it starts from here in Lagos, the Silicon Valley of Nigeria, like we all see. So thank you once again to all our panelists. Thank you especially to the host. Thank you for our host. Thank you to every single one of partners and sponsors, especially Bio was like our major partners for this year's edition, as well as to the incredible team members beside this title. As you can see, look at our branding this year was focus. Our branding this year was really good, and it is thanks to like the beautiful men behind the scenes. Every single one of them actually with all minded to ensure that this is successful both two ways. And especially to yourselves, thank you all for coming and see you in this time Lagos 2026. Let's actually call it Science. Let's Science. 20 editions like we've done so far, all falling in December. So when you are anticipating 20 December next year, just know that you should anticipate what? Thank you very much, guys. See you. And also, follow our socials for all the updates and all the things that we're posting. There's going to be like a lot of rollouts that we're releasing, a lot of things for you to actually like connect to and ensure that we keep the future of science here in Lagos. Thank you. You can go to your house. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. Machine, go to your house.